Um, as we move on to the next session, I know some of you might feel hungry, but just hang in. We promise there's plenty of good stuff to come, and we don't want to shortchange the next session. So let me call on, somebody said we didn't have the IT folks on the panel, but now we do. Okay, Ashok Pamidi, Karnataka Nasscom, along with Swarnima, who is an associate at Trilegal. And then, of course, we have Neeti Poorswani, who's a principal at Interweave Consulting. And they're going to talk to you, and I'm going to leave it as a surprise. Okay? Over to you three. Thank you.
Hello. This is Akashwani. Ashok, we believe we are doing well on the compliance front with this Prevention of Sexual Harassment Act, but somehow we think we should go beyond mere compliance and ensure that people in our organizations feel that this is the true, safe, and secure space to work in. As the regional head of Nasscom in Karnataka, we want you to help us with some best practices in the IT and other industries that we can all collectively implement.
Yeah, I've been in fact working on this, and I have requested Neeti and Swarnima in meeting this objective.
Good afternoon. I'm Neeti Poorswani from Interweave Consulting. At Interweave, we've been working and partnering with several organizations to help them build a safe and respectful workplace. I think we spent quite a long time now, and we're all clear on the simple mandates of the law. Having a policy on POSH, having a committee, constitute a committee, and of course education and awareness. I'd like to take a recent case we came across. So this case was, a complaint was made about a young man in a team. This young man had been romantically pursuing his female colleague. And how was he showing his sincere intentions, his affection was by writing original. So he would take a lot of effort and write these poems to her that described her eyes as the stars and her face as the moon. So really complimenting her on a lot of aspects, and he believed that he was showing his sincere, serious intentions, towards this girl. How was this young girl responding? Was, well, replying back to these poems, calling him several names, asking him to leave her alone. Eventually, after 3 months, she realized he's not getting the hint. She raised a formal complaint. Now, this organization had a policy, had a committee. She's approached the committee, raised a complaint. And during the investigation, when this young man was there, he himself was very shocked that we were calling this harassment. Because what is harassment? Negative, right? He is only complimenting her. He said all positive things. He has very positive intentions. How can you call this harassment is the question he had for the committee. Okay, clearly showing that our awareness on this subject is so low, right? Corporate India till date probably has not been talking about it enough. During the investigation, I also remember one of the things he said, and many of us may smile at this, but to a question we asked him was like, if she had been saying no for 3 months, what were you thinking? And he very promptly turned around and said, haven't you seen Hindi movies? XYZ actor gets turned down 3-4 times, but eventually gets the girl. So his understanding was that this is how it's supposed to be, right? I am supposed to pursue her. She's supposed to turn me down. Eventually, it's going to be a happy ending. Like I said, organization had a policy, had a committee. What was the clear challenge for them here was the education, the awareness, right?
Very true, Neeti. And just to give you a background, I'm Swarnima. I work at a law firm called Trilegal, and I am in the employment practice. So we handle a lot of these sexual harassment complaints, and we have a lot of clients who come to us And when I interact with them, I see a large number of the complaints are from the younger generation. They're fresh graduates from college. So especially in the IT sector, I mean, Ashok would have the data and we'll look at it. But we recruit bulk from colleges and they move. One day they are in a college atmosphere, the other day they are in the workplace. And the distinction between what is acceptable, you're at the young age, so you are at a marriageable age, so you're looking, you need to look at the mental build-up and where, and also these Bollywood movie ethos are so ingrained in us, and that's what you were talking about, is we don't know where to draw the line, right? Ashok, you had some interesting data on this.
I have some very interesting data. And when the slide comes up, I just want to share with you that currently I would say that we have moved a needle a lot in terms of women. We have close to about 34% of the workforce as women, gone up from 30% in 2009 to nearly 34% in 2012. So which is essentially meaning a CAGR of 11%, much more than the overall industry, which consists of men and women, about 3.5 million. What is very interesting is you'll notice that 63% of the workforce in women are women in the overall thing. So we have about 1.2 million workforce as women out of the 3.5 million, which is 34%, and out of which 63% are women in the entry-level category.
That's interesting. So 63% of the women are at the entry level. Now that's where they are naive. So you need education, and I think that's the primary thing. So you need to understand, and we had someone from NDTV saying when she first went into the room and she saw that photo, you are at a stage in your career where you don't raise those voices. You don't want to raise those voices. You've just entered the workplace. You don't differentiate, and you cannot differentiate between what is a serious harassment. So a molestation, yes, you would raise a complaint, but those lingered looks, those rolling of the eyes, those handshake which go on for a long time, those are subtle instances, and that's what we need to educate. And as employers, that's what we need to educate our female employees who are at this young age, to identify that. And if you raise these issues at the right point, at the right time, it's easier to take corrective measures. You don't have to wait till it escalates into something much bigger, right? So that's the kind of education I think we need to give.
Another point which I thought, since you pointed out as a young crowd, the average age of the industry is only 27 years.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. I think also we need to take into account the social and cultural context. We have to understand that over the years, we've kind of learned to or grown to accept certain behaviors or ignore it. So walking down the road, somebody looks at me, whistles at me, I ignore it. Somebody walked past me humming an item song, I probably think it's casual behavior, right? So a lot of these behaviors we've grown to accept or ignore, and now suddenly the law is questioning them. This is causing discomfort to a lot of people. This is confusing most of us, right? So I crack an adult joke at the workplace. Somebody raises a complaint and I'm shocked. It's just a joke. Why are they raising a complaint? There is a really high need to educate our employees on what is acceptable, what is not acceptable. We have been partnering with several organizations in helping them have these conversations, right? Especially given that your average age is 27. And then you're also getting people not just from a city like Bangalore, there are various other cities, in the country that they're coming. So it's like a melting pot, and you've got to have these conversations to provide a respectful workplace for everybody.
So awareness and sensitization are the two most important ingredients in prevention of sexual act, right? Now the other things which comes about, you spoke about movies, right? And I have this question, because I saw a movie called Atiraj and Disclosures, right? Which is basically talking about harassment of men. So why is this, when I look at it and look at the large number of educated folks in the IT industry, and many people have asked me, why is this posh only for women?
And in fact, this audience itself, we had this question raised in the audience earlier today. Why does the law protect only women? And to be very honest, the first time I read the first draft of the law, and I was quite agitated. I was like, fine, I'm equally educated. Why do I need more protection? This law should be equal. And I called up the Ministry of Child and Women Development, and I asked them this exact question. And the response I got made me think it did make a lot of sense. It said, listen, you're sitting in Bangalore, you're sitting in a city where women are at par with men, but this law is not meant to apply to Bangalore. It's not meant to apply to IT companies or the industry which is there, which is already very educated. It will apply to construction workers. It will apply to the manufacturing sector. It will apply to tier 2, tier 3 cities in the country. And our country is diverse. Bringing in a sexual harassment complaint is more of a stigma in a lot of places for the woman than the respondent, than the accused. So you need to tie all of that together. And that's why they said, we don't want a situation where we give equal rights, and the moment a man apprehends that a woman will bring a complaint, he brings another complaint because it's lesser of a stigma for male. And that's how we are culturally. And we need to understand that. So given that, we had to have a law which protected women. We needed that. Now, organizations, all the Nasscom companies, other organizations, we've heard them. They have a gender neutral policy. Yes, it makes sense for us to have a gender neutral policy. A lot of clients I work with, all of them have put together a gender neutral policy, but there's a reason why the law is worded the way it is worded.
So Swarnima and Neeti, one of the things, most difficult things the members have been telling me, and 72% of our members are small and medium business in Bangalore. They tell me that one of the most difficult thing is about ICC. Okay, can you take us through that?
Okay, so I think by now, again, we're all familiar what the ICC, should look like, the constitution, right? So minimum 4 people on the ICC, at least 50% women. Chairperson has to be a woman. 1 person out of this 4 needs to be an external member. Basically, your unbiased, neutral voice. What I'd like to take up is some common questions probably there in our minds today. A lot of organizations we've worked with sometimes do not have, enough senior women. So Swarnima, how do you then constitute a committee?
Very, very pertinent question. And I get this question so often. Like, we don't have, the law expects us to have 1 senior woman. We don't have senior women in our organization. We have the flexibility in the law. So if you don't have a senior, and you need to have a committee in each office that has more than 10 employees. So if each and every office does not have a senior woman, you can have a common senior woman. So if you have, say, 5 offices in India, and you have only 1 senior woman in India, you can have her sit on the committee for all your 5 offices. Now that's the flexibility that the law recognizes and gives you. Yes, gender diversity is another issue that you should look at as an organization. And that's something to be addressed as well.
All right. Another frequent query that we've been hearing is that what is the criteria for selecting members, right? And how do you test for balance?
Balance is really crucial. Now, a lot of companies have a volunteer approach. So you volunteer whoever wants to be in the ICC and they'll be taken up. And a lot of people, again, in the ICC say, listen, this is too much responsibility. I don't want to volunteer. Now, I think it's very important as an organization for you to choose the right people because they are taking decisions. It's both, and you have to be balanced both towards the victim and the respondent. It is a decision towards that will affect someone's employment, right? So it should not be, you should not have those preconceived notions, and we have heard these statements in the morning. If you're out in a party, you're drinking with your colleagues, what else do you expect? We've heard these statements. Similarly, I mean, the other way around also. A married woman, he's having an affair and that's blown out. You shouldn't prejudge it to be, listen, he's in the wrong because he's married and he shouldn't be having an affair. So keep your perspectives and the committee members should be able to keep their judgment calls around the values outside. Look at the case on the facts of the case itself and take a call. Even when you do the meeting, and this was a very interesting case where, you know, the committee was having a meeting, calling the witnesses and the accused. And in the heat of the moment, the committee member said, listen, how could you do this to that poor woman? Now, that statement is so natural to us, but that could set aside your entire inquiry process because you're supposed to be not biased. You cannot have that preconceived notion. So you need to really question them. The other thing is, you know, in addition to picking and choosing the right people, train them. And training is really important.
Yeah, I agree. In fact, when we've done several trainings for committee members, one of the most commonly heard phrases is, I feel like I'm playing God. Like, how can I make this judgment, right? Which is where I think, you know, training them, talking to them, also providing that support also becomes important. I'd like to take up now the other mandate of the law, so to say, the policy, right? I've been hearing a lot of times from clients where they say that we have a robust code of ethics. Why do we need, you know, a separate policy on sexual harassment? Swarnima?
Yeah. So, it is mandatory under the law to have a sexual harassment policy. But keeping that aside, as an organization, why should I have a policy? Now, I'll just look at a few requirements under this act. Now, they say you need to submit 6 copies of a complaint in writing. Now, a lot of us think, why 6 copies? We sit in front of the computer, we can just shoot an email. You have that flexibility. The law gives you that flexibility to allow email complaints. Put it in your policy. If you don't put it in your policy, you don't have the flexibility. So it makes sense to have a specific policy which sets out the process and how you will address. There's another requirement that as soon as the committee receives the complaint, within 7 days, they will forward a copy to the accused. This again is something you have the flexibility to change. How I would rather do it is, once I receive the complaint, I have a meeting with the individual first. It helps, it gives her that assurance that someone is looking into it. It helps you understand, because the first copy of the complaint may just be a 2-liner and it doesn't really help forwarding it as is. So you take down a more detailed complaint. So you maybe I'll do a meeting in 3 days and then forward it in another 8 days or 10 days. I can change those deadlines, I can change those timelines if I put it in my policy. So it's important that we put together our policy based on what works for an organization and put it down so that it's easier when we need to handle these complaints.
Okay, thanks. Ashok, Nasscom has been working a lot with different organizations in helping them build best practices. And I know you were mentioning a lot of these around transportation. Can you share some of those practices?
Yeah, sure, Neeti. See, Nasscom has been working with FM Zone and others, specifically around women transportation, and this is as per the law of the Karnataka Shops and Establishment Act. So typically what we do is, first is, you know, we talk about sensitization of the women folks. We tell them about the transport policies or the Shops and Establishment Act, first thing. And typically as per the law, it is from 8 p.m. to 6 a.m. we have to provide transport to all our BPM and IT services employees. So what they do is, when they, first and foremost thing, after the induction program is over, let's assume for a minute that a lady has to be picked up. And keeping, as Kiran pointed out, keeping the traffic congestion in view, at 6:45 generally, they get an SMS informing about the driver's name, approximate time that they will pick up. Now the very interesting thing what has happened as far as the best practice is concerned, what you mentioned, that cab actually leaves from the premises of the company. There's a sticker which is put, and in that sticker, which will clearly point out that there is an escort provided by the company. The security checks that there is an escort, and if she's the first woman to be picked up, it goes there and picks up. And then she's brought back. And as soon as and again, it's the final authority is the women. If she's not comfortable in getting into the cab, no need. That day, she can come late, or she did not even come to the office if that is the case. Okay, she's the final authority. Now, after she reaches the office, she has to sign that she has received, she has come to the office, and no other complaints are there. That's one aspect. Second thing is, while going back, there's a routing given. That they know exactly with the route or the routes which the driver is going to take. First thing. Second and most important aspect is, almost all the companies have a fantastic, what I call it as a master control room, where all the taxis are monitored through GPRS systems. Okay. So while going back, in case she's the last drop, and then what happens is, again there's an escort. No woman is allowed to sit in the front. She always has to sit. The only exception is given is if she's in a family way, or rather she's pregnant. Then the final authority is hers. If she wants to sit in the front, she can sit, or she can always say that I want not a three-seater. Three-seaters are the small taxis. If she wants a better one, then she will be provided a much bigger taxi. And then she's escorted. Now, another interesting aspect, and the process-driven industry, right? Even if a husband wants to pick up, he can't. The strict rules is there that she is going to be dropped by the company's responsibility. Or she says, it's a Friday evening, I want to stop in a mall. No. She will be dropped back by the escort, back to her house. Now, apart from this, very interesting thing. As soon as she reaches, she has to send an SMS back to her control room. In case the SMS doesn't go, she will be bombarded by calls after calls, still they receive that. Now, because of the GPRS, in case she doesn't do it, then the nearest taxi is asked to go to her house and figure out what has happened. Anyway, the GPRS system will tell. So this is the kind of practice which is being followed by the industry. So now both of you have been creating a lot of awareness program around compliance, and also been sharing best practices, right? Not only in Bangalore, across the country. So from your understanding, could you share some of the best practices being followed by some of the companies?
One of the financial services organizations we've worked with, and I'm quoting this example because I believe they've gone beyond compliance, right? Best in class kind of practice. So we've helped them, train their committee. We've helped them create education for managers across the board. We've supported them with an e-learning that they use to educate individual contributors. But where this organization has gone a step forward is asking for our support in educating all contract staff, okay? So all kinds of vendors, from housekeeping to drivers to canteen staff. And we've developed, with their support, regional language modules to be able to deliver these. Every year for the past 3 years, this organization we've been partnering with on this engagement, it takes us roughly about 2 to 3 months to cover. And then yet again, the next year, we're doing the same thing. So I believe that this shows that, you just don't have to tick the boxes. There's much more you can do. Another organization, an online retail organization, again doing the basic education for managers, giving them an e-learning for other employees. Where they've gone a step forward is in creating communication collateral with our help, where it's not just, and again in regional languages, okay, all across their campus. And not just talking about, hey, if you're facing harassment, please contact committee. No, it actually very creatively picks on the subtle nuances. So it talks a lot about respect. It talks about what's okay at work, right? And that's where I believe that some organizations are leading the way with certain practices in showing how we can go beyond compliance.
Yeah, that's very, if someone asked me that one thing you would ask organizations to do to address this law, and I've had a lot of frantic calls because, yes, Vishaka was always there, but what this law says that your license to do business in India will be cancelled. And that's what has really sent those panic waves across companies like, okay, I need to do something now. So it's, yes, you can have your policy, you can do everything, but one thing I would say, and we cannot stress enough, is awareness. And we have a lot of companies do these interesting things, you have pens with those notes saying, listen, this is harassment, speak up. You have desktop screens, you have little did you know cartoons, and I know SAP, for example, and I was speaking to some of them there. They have these cartoons and did you know on everywhere when you walk around. So it helps because A, the woman is comfortable that this is an organization I can bring up even the smallest issue. And it's always best to tackle it when it is small. Don't let them grow up. The men, and I am doing a women and men, if you have a gender neutral policy, either party, yes. They know that, listen, in this organization, I need to be careful. I am at a workplace, there is an expected conduct. It's not, yes, it works, I can do this. This language is acceptable. So that awareness is really crucial. The other example, I think, Ashok, maybe IBM, and I was pretty impressed. I was speaking to them at one of these conferences, and we were talking about the committee constitution, and the law says 4 people. Now, if you have a person, a committee member holidaying in Hawaii, and you receive a complaint, you don't want them flying down just because they need to address a complaint. So have a larger committee, have a 10-member, 15-member committee, so that you can pick and choose and reconstitute, regroup smaller committees as and when the need arises. Have experts on the committee. See how do you constitute a member from HR, a member from legal, an external member who has that experience, who can help the committee through the right questioning, point out those facts. Those issues really help.
Thank you very much. If you have any questions, we can just take, I think, 1 or 2 questions.
Okay, that makes it 2 questions. Thank you. Thanks for a terrific little cameo here. Thanks a ton.
Thank you.
Let's give a round of applause.